Hello everybody, this is Joel, aka Bourbon Dingo, and welcome to the second episode of my Let's Play Crusader Kings 2. Alright, last episode we basically took a look at the overview of the game and checked out some of the map modes. This time we're actually going to drop in and start doing a little bit of playing. Now, since I kind of want to run this as a tutorial, we're going to be entering it into a little bit slowly. I'm going to try to remember to not take things that I know for granted that you might know. However, the very first thing we're going to do here is we're going to take a look at these notifications up here at the top. And as you can see, we got a few of these little circular dials right here that pop up some notifications. And these are what I could consider to be the most important notifications, the stuff that requires your immediate attention. Since we're starting, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look. And as we can see, I have a title loss on succession notification of the County of Powys. Which, by the way, quick aside, if I mispronounce something, I'm trying to my best ability to do so. If you know the correct pronunciation for something that I'm saying wrong and it's annoying you or anything like that, just let me know what the correct pronunciation is, and I'll try my best to alter how I'm saying it. So we have the County of Powys, and it basically says that the following titles will be lost on succession. We go over here, and if you hover over the coat of arms next to this, it'll tell you who's in the line of succession. And it says that Madog ap Bledan Matherfall. So he's likely one of my sons, most likely the second son. My first son is Cadwagan, and my second son is Madog ap Bledan. The reason I knew this is because if we go over here and take a look at our laws, we have our succession law right here, and it's agnatic, cognatic, gavelkind. Agnatic, cognatic is the best way. It's your male son is your first male son is your heir, and that's agnatic, cognatic. If you don't have a male son, it's your eldest daughter who inherits. Gavelkind is the specific type of inheritance, or how the inheritance plays out. In Gavelkind, your first son gains your primary title. In this instance, it would be the Duchy of Gwynedd, because it's the only duchy I hold, and the County of Gwynedd. However, because it's Gavelkind, it spreads it out between all of my male sons as far as it can. In this instance, the only other title I hold is the County of Powys. If we take a look at my character, you can see right here, these are the titles of what he holds. And I hold the Duchy of Gwynedd, the County of Gwynedd, and the County of Powys. Since the only one I hold, it'll pass to the next eldest son. That's one of our goals for this specific ruler, who I'm actually going to lay out his goals right now. It's basically to take over these three provinces right here and form the Kingdom of Wales. But another one of his goals is to survive for 10 years so that I can change the succession law to primogeniture. As you can see, I have everything I need right now except for the having reigned for at least 10 years. Alright, so we can basically ignore this for now. We also have an unmarried heir. And to look at it a little bit closer than we did last time, this is currently our heir right now. And he's Welsh, Catholic. If you look up here, he likes us. Not a whole lot, but he does like us. And it shows all the reasons that he likes you and the reasons he dislikes you. He doesn't like us for Gavelkind succession because if we had primogeniture, he would be getting all of the claims. We very much like him, but that's because he's our child. His stats currently are a little below average on all accounts. I consider it 10 average. And that's likely he just has low base stats and nothing that really modifies his stats to a large amount. He is a skilled tactician, and this is actually his education trait. And you gain an education trait whenever the character turns 16, and it's based on who you choose to educate the child. He's lustful, which lust or luxuria, the first deadly sin, inflames this character. These carnal desires are not appreciated by the church and might also cause problems out of the marital bed. Basically, it affects his piety level, which we can see right here. He currently has a 0, but monthly his piety level is negative 0.25. And piety affects how members of the church view you. Fertility, it also increases his fertility. He's paranoid, which gives him a +2 intrigue and a -1 diplomacy. He's kind, which gives him a +2 diplomacy and a -2 intrigue. Hang on that. He's also diligent, which gives him a +1 in all of his abilities. But currently, as we can look right here, it shows who his parents are, who his grandparents are. See the skull right here, if you look closely, it'll tell you what they died of and when they died. One thing to take a quick look at also is if you look at him, he's got a crown right here, and that's to show at a quick glance that he's our heir. If you look at us, you see a star, and that's to show who you are currently playing. If you have a look down here at my children, you can see that they all have this blood drop, and that's to show that they are a member of our dynasty. There are 3 different types of blood drops. There is the bright red blood drop you see, which is a close member, daughter, son, brother, sister, mother, and or father, depending on who is of your dynasty. There's a slightly dimmer blood drop, which shows distant members of your dynasties, cousins, etc. And then there's a black blood drop, which is to show a bastard of your dynasty, someone of your blood but has not been legitimized. But to take care of this that we just popped up here, what you can do, there's 2 ways to go about it. One is to use the arranged marriage function. And currently, with a recent change they made, you alter your prestige based on who you marry. With the recent change, that became a much bigger deal. However, it is still very worthwhile to marry your characters off to people with good traits and good abilities. As we can see, let's take a look. You can go into the arranged marriage function, and you have lots of stats that are shown off, lots of traits that are shown off, and as you can see, there is a ton of options. And they range anywhere from marrying them off to somebody who's 39 to just been born in a betrothal. There's the ability to sort by stats if you know exactly what you need. Yeah, I'm probably going to marry to her. But one of the other things to look at is the flags here, which will show you that you're going to be making a alliance through the marriage. There is another way of doing this, and I'm going to show you that real fast. Down here, we go into our Find Characters. And what you can do is you can search between your own vassals, your specific realm, or all characters. And if you want to marry, say, him off, what you can do is you can go in here and you can search all characters, change to women that are not in prison and aren't married. You can leave everything else as you want. Usually it's better to make sure they're of your religion, and I tend to make sure that they're of my culture, but that's also an option. One of the reasons that I believe this is better is because this shows you a list of matches that they believe to be good, that are close matches, while this shows you everyone you can be married to. As we can see, we can go look at some of these stats. Some of these numbers are already higher than some of the ones we have over there. And one of the reasons you want some of these good stats is if you go and look back at me real fast, you can see that I have the number right here stating my stat, which, say for diplomacy, is a 10. But over here to the right, we have the nation-state's diplomacy. And the nation-state's diplomacy is your stat plus half of your spouse's stat plus your counselor's stat. So as we can see, my wife only has a 2 diplomacy, so I'm only getting a +1 from her. However, if I was married to, say, Denise, one of our courtiers, who had an 18, I'd be adding 9 from that spouse into my nation-state's diplomacy. As you can see, they also have listed whether or not they're part of a great house. They also have lowborn, and you take a large prestige hit for lowborn. One of the things I'm going to look for before I jump back and see if I'm actually going to choose her or not is we do like I personally like having diplomacy as one of the highest things that I have. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over here and take a look at some of these other things we have floating around. We have another courtier that is of our bloodline, a niece. And I believe 2 separations is enough to marry. It might be 3 separations. Here's something. Alright. When you see a green heart, that is a positive congenital trait. And what that means is that it becomes a chance that when you have children, this is a possibility of passing on. Such as genius, which is probably one of the best ones to have. I believe it is the best one. You can tell that, as it says, this character is blessed with a towering intellect. And that's a +5 across the board, and that is quite high to start with before you've even started training the child. And that might end up happening even with the prestige hit I'm going to take for marrying a lowborn. You can separate by rank, and rank will allow you to marry someone of a higher rank who, and it's, as we can see, I'm going to click her real fast and then right click and go into diplomacy. I can arrange marriage between her and my heir. Now, the marriage goes through. It says that right there. However, he is going to gain no prestige from the marriage and actually lose prestige for marrying a courtier. This will start him sort of in the hole. However, he can gain it back. And actually, I'm going to take a quick glance through here real fast and see if I can find anybody with... One of the things I've noticed is that starting the game, you can almost never find someone with a positive congenital trait who is of a great house. It seems to be really hard. So you can see this is the first one. No. This is the first one that has a positive congenital trait and is of a great house. And I don't want to saddle him with that much of a prestige hit to begin with. So I believe that will actually be the match we make. She's a little older, but she's not too far past the age we want. Oh, it's because even though she's part of a great house, she's still considered a courtier, which is 3 levels below the son of a duke, who is, because there's duke, count, baron, then courtier, which means it doesn't matter that we would be marrying a lowborn, which means that's actually what we're going to do, is marry a lowborn for her. So let's go ahead and actually we're going to go ahead and marry That's a very good stat line right there. I think that's what we're going to do. So we sent that marriage request off, and this won't change until we've started the game a little bit. The requests actually take a little time to go through. The next one we have to do is choose an ambition. And basically when you click it, it opens up the character sheet, and you click over here for choosing an ambition. These range from amassing wealth to improving your intrigue. Now you can have the improve for any of the stats that are below 8. There's also the Paragon of Virtue and become exalted among men. Now the Paragon of Virtue, if you take a look, it says that the success condition is to have a piety of at least 500. If we take a look over here, our current character has a piety of 15. So it's a little ways off. But if I were to succeed and gain that, it also tells you what you achieve. I'd gain 1 learning, I'd gain 100 piety, and I'd also be known as the Holy. There's also some other things, such as the Catholic religion gains a little bit more moral authority, and that the opinions of the Pope and any church vassals I have underneath me would increase. The Exalted Among Men is basically the same thing, but of prestige instead of piety. And I suppose what we're going to do for this one is we're going to get him to learn intrigue. The higher your intrigue is, the more your actions, such as assassination and things like that, improve, but it also helps you defend against those things. So that's what we're going to start with, is improve his intrigue. Alright. Like I said, this will go away shortly, so we're going to leave that up until it's ready to go away. Now, the next thing is we're going to move along to the right. We can see this little area up here gives you your basic information for your character. It's the wealth that he currently has, and if you hover over the number, it'll tell you your balance. It's prestige, and it'll tell you your current prestige plus what you're gaining prestige from. Your piety is the same idea. Your domain size. Your domain size is based on how much stewardship you have, plus it's affected by the technology legalism and what rank you have. Currently, our domain size is 2 of 3, which means we can have a max of 3. We currently have 3 counties in our duchy. However, we're not directly controlling one of them, so we only have 2 holdings that we're directly in control of. If you get above this number, you start taking opinion penalties with your vassals. Over here, I believe this shows, just in case you vote on laws or something like that, this shows who holds votes and how many they hold. And then this is our score. We haven't started, of course, so it's still at 0. Going down, this is where notifications will pop up that aren't considered immediate reaction notifications. The shows on my list that I've chosen, you can click this and it'll allow you to choose anything you want to show up. Currently, I've got, it shows my 2 holdings, Domain and Aberfraw and Matherfall. It shows how much money they're making, what their fortification level is, and that's how hard it is to siege. And I believe this shows how many people are in garrison there. Now down here we've come to our court, which you can check by coming up and clicking this council right here, and it brings up the button for the council, and it's telling us that all of our council is currently idle. Now these are basically people that you can set to do specific things, and each one, as you go over it, you can look and see what it does, the percentages that it occurs, and the percentages that something bad occurs. Like in this instance, what we're actually going to have him start with is fabricating claims, but he has a 14.25% yearly chance of fabricating claims, but there's a 2% chance each year that he infuriates the noble in the county that he's fabricating claims. And this is one way to gain land. So we're going to go ahead and have him start fabricating claims in Gwent. We come down to our marshal, who's our son, who likes us quite a bit. That'll change when we change to primogeniture. What we're going to have him do is, early on, we're going to have him train troops in Gwynedd. And what training troops does, if you hover over it, it gives you a 42.5% levy size, of 85% levy reinforcement rate. Basically, these are bonuses that are always in effect. The ones below it are things that can change how many you have. Percentages that good things happen. You can also suppress results, and as you can see, you have your percentages there. And research military tech, which is something we'll be doing whenever we're not expecting to be going to war. Alright, we're going down to our steward. We can have him collect taxes, which increases the amount of money we receive from a specific county. And there's chances that we'll get more money. Oversee construction, he'll build faster. Or he'll make buildings build faster in the area. Or we can research economy tech. These are actually very good stats. It's been a while since I've seen this good of starting stats on a council. We're going to have him also collect that. For the Spy Master, you can scheme, which is within your own area. You try to stop plots, and it helps you find plots more often. Build spy networks. You can send them outside of your area, and it's to spread rumors and do things of that nature. Or you can have him study technology. And this is to go steal technology from outside. I actually do something I don't see a lot of people do, which is have him attempt to steal technology in an area that I tend to expand into at some point. If they get caught, though, you have to, they get in prison, so you either have to replace him on the council or find a way to get him released. And for the court chaplain, what we're going to do to start off with is we're going to send him, because you can convert populace, but we don't have anybody currently of a different religion than Catholicism. He can research cultural tech, which is a 65% rate increase for cultural technology growth, which I'll take a look at here in a second. Or we can have him improve religious relations with members of the clergy. And we're actually going to have him do that because church members, if they don't like you more than the Pope, they will pay the Pope their taxes and not you. So it's always nice to have them on your side. Alright, we've set everybody, and as you can see, it tells you up here what they're doing. And you can see that my tax rate has jumped up a little bit there. Let's move on. We looked at the laws before. There's the way to change it, and it tells you what you have to do to change it. It also shows your heirs here currently. Here's the laws of your realm. So right now it's the ducal laws of Gwynedd. You can tell we have a normal feudal levy, no feudal taxation. City levies are normal, and then everything else is pretty much normal through that. We move on. Technology is something that doesn't really get used a whole lot in game. It's one of those set it and forget it sort of things. What I normally do, and these are generally some of the things I've seen, is I set it to tactics, and you can see what it does and the benefits it gives you. We leave it on farming because that increases the amount of tax you get on castles. And then I bring it down to legalism because the more that goes up, the less problem there is with a new king or duke or something taking over that area. And these slowly go up, and like I said, it's one thing you don't really notice too much in this game. It's one of those things you can just sort of forget. We've got about 5 or 6 minutes before this video ends, so I doubt I'm actually going to get to start the game today, but I'm going to finish looking through some of these menus. As you can see, these are our army levies. And from your personal domain, we can raise 414. This shows you the amount that is currently raised, the amount that's unraised, which is 414, and whenever all the levies replenish, the amount that we could possibly raise, which is 499. From your vassals, and these are from those people that were under you that have different holdings, it shows you the same thing. We can raise up to 196. You can raise your personal levies without any penalty. If you raise vassals' levies, you get a diplomatic penalty with them the longer you keep their vassals raised. Alright, one other thing to look at here is also the fleet, just in case you need to ship your armies, and mercenaries. When looking at the mercenaries, you can see that they have a higher cost, which is much higher than we have pretty much for everything. The cheapest one's going to be about 75. But one of the things that I've missed a whole lot, and it comes to bite me in the end, is the monthly cost of keeping them up. As you can see, something as simple as the 75 gold one, which is the cheapest one, has a monthly cost of 6. If you go over here, we currently have a monthly profit of 161. So that would immediately drop my monthly balance down to a -5. And you don't want to run out of money while you have mercenaries out. So always make sure that you have a decent amount of money in your pocket before you start that. Moving on, we go to our intrigue, which you can see we have, and we're actually going to do something here. We have plots that we can choose from. And what we're going to do is, this one guy over here controlling this one province, we're actually going to plot to revoke his county. As you can see, we have a plot power of 138.4. However, to actually revoke the county, as you come down here and take a look, we have to have at least one plot backer. And you do that by clicking on here and looking. And we have one person who's willing to help us. And we can send... He's willing to... You could tell he was willing to help us because he had the green thumb next to his picture. He was the only person willing to help us. So when we start up the game, there'll be some reaction to that, because we have to request his help first before we can actually institute the plot. But they also have different things you can do. You can invite other characters to your court: holy man, noble, debutante. We also have debutante. Sorry. We also have different things you can do, basically to gain prestige and such. We're also going to start a grand hunt, because it's at least September and it's before November. So let's go ahead and click on that. And this will be something that plays when we start playing as well. And these are ways to increase prestige or gain favorable traits. Or more likely to wound yourself in the process and be angry that such a low percentage chance of something continuously happens. But there's all those, and we'll be using those over the course of the gameplay. We go into factions. There's no current factions, but if enough of your vassals get power, they'll join factions to do things like declare independence, or to overthrow you as a ruler and place in somebody they like. And this is all dependent on how much they like you and whether or not they have much reason to do it. Finally, we look at religion. We're of the Catholic Christian faith, and it shows the head of your religion. He likes us a little bit. He doesn't like that we're lustful, but he likes that we're kind and brave. He is currently called No Crusades, and the moral authority is 50.1. Moral authority is just how much her heresies can spread. The higher the moral authority, you can view that as the stricter and stronger people. How do I say that? The stricter and stronger that people enforce religious practices. And then it also shows our current vassal bishops. We can actually appoint successors to them, I believe, because since we aren't a kingdom, we can appoint successors to them. That'll be it for what's up top up here. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can show you before... Well, if you heard that, that's our timer ending. But I've got a couple more minutes. I'm going to take a quick gander down here, we've already looked at the map modes. What we also have is our main menu. We have the ledger, which this is relatively important. As you can see, you can go through. This is where you'll get a lot of your information from. And I'm not going to go through it exactly, but it'll give you basically, it's sort of like a free spy master. I've heard somebody explain it like that, where it'll tell you the amount of troops that other nations can field, and it'll give you their stats and how much they like you and things of that nature. Clicking that brings you back to your home province. Finding title. In this instance, let's say I wanted to create the Kingdom of Wales, right? I already control 3 things, but I'm not quite sure what I need to actually control to make the Kingdom of Wales. So we go ahead and we type in Wales, because we know that's what we're trying to work towards. This will require some time playing with the game to know where all of these are, because you wouldn't specifically know that that's what you could have unless you've seen it done. But as we can see, hovering over it, I need to hold at least 2 duchy titles. I currently have 1 in the Duchy of Gwynedd, but we have another one down here, Dehubarth, and I'm sure I said that wrong. But this is this one right here. If we go into your duchies, you can see that this is all 1 right here. And so I would need to control that as well. Or I believe these 2 count as de jure parts of it. But I would need to at least have that to create the Kingdom of Wales. Plus there's a money and prestige charge, but it doesn't show that unless you have the option to actually do it. So let's back off of that. We've already seen the find characters, but you can change this to men if you're looking for people to invite or anything of that nature. And I believe, we can pop up here. Her notifications popped up. It's just telling us where we sent specific people on our council. And I believe that's it. I'm going to go ahead and call it here, and I promise in the next episode we'll start up and get the show on the road. We've already got quite a bit done today, but we'll get more started next time. So, in that case, I'll see you when we start up our very next Let's Play.